Hi guys, it's Vicky, welcome back. This is my 1 month 1 palette check-in video. It's my second video in this series. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be recapping on the palette that I have been working on, and then I'm going to choose my next palette and do a short little makeup application with that palette. So the palette that I have been focusing on is this one here, which is the bareMinerals Bare Essentials palette. I don't think you can get this one anymore, but this is sort of full of purpley, pinky, grey mauve tones. Very cool in tone, it's not very warm at all, and you've got a mixture of some matte and some shimmer shades in there. So what I have been doing the past month is I've been trying to focus on this palette as much as I can. I didn't set any particular usage goals with each of the pans. I just wanted to make sure that I use them all once, and then after that, just whatever looks that I wanted to create that day, I would go ahead and do that. And the whole aim of this 1 month 1 palette series is to really get some use out of my palettes. Now, I don't have a lot of palettes, so it's not like a lot of them get neglected, but I definitely have my favourites, and I definitely prefer to use some over others. And this is one of those palettes that I don't really reach for that often. So the past month has been quite useful in terms of using a palette that I wouldn't necessarily reach for on a day-to-day basis. And the other aim of this series is to actually figure out if I want to keep these palettes that I have, or whether in fact I do actually want to declutter some, because my aim is to have a small makeup collection that is just full of products that I know look nice on me, that work, that I enjoy using, and I'm going to want to reach for. So let's talk through all of the looks then and the colours in this palette. So this month I have actually only used this palette 12 times, which isn't a lot, I know, seeing as I was meant to have used this for most of the month. However, I'm not that keen on this palette. I just don't think that these tones are for me. They're far too cool toned, and I suit more of a warm toned palette. And I find as well, because a lot of the looks that you can get from this palette are very purple in colour, they really emphasise my dark circles. So when I've worn this palette, I've made sure to colour correct beforehand, but even when I've done that, my dark circles still kind of show through and are still emphasised to look worse than they are. So it's not a particularly flattering overall look. Okay, so on to the looks then. I found with this palette you could either create a grey eyeshadow look, a purple one, or a pink. But regardless of the tones you chose, regardless of which pan you chose, they did all end up looking pretty similar. And I think that is my problem with this palette, or has been in the past, is that although you have about 12 shades in here, no, you have 14, well 13 because I got rid of this one here. Although there are 13 shades in here, the looks all kind of look the same. One pink look is the same as another pink look, one purple is the same as another purple, so there's no real distinct looks that you can get in this palette. So if we talk about the shades a little more in depth, so I did use all of the shades at least once. Some of them I used more often than others. 2 of the shades I used 5 times, and it was number 3 here, which is Shazam, and it's really quite lovely, this shade actually. It's a real lovely shimmery rose gold shade. And then the next one I used most often was number 13 up here, the dark purple. And this one surprised me actually. I didn't think I would use this one as often as I did, but this one was quite good as a liner, or just to like darken up the outer corner a little bit. And then shades number 4, 5, 7 and 11 I used 4 times. So it is this other shimmery colour here, a bit darker than Shazam. Lure was a really nice transition shade, so I did end up using that one quite a bit. 7 I didn't think I would use that much because it's not a very nice shade. And then 11 was Hot Spell, like a mid-toned purple, so that was quite a good one to work with your lighter purples and your dark purples. So with my least favourite and my favourite shades, I think my most favourite was number 3, which is Shazam, which is that rose gold shimmery shade. And I think if I would carry on using this palette, I'd most likely hit pan on this because there is quite a dip in it and it is a little bit crumbly. My least favourite is definitely Catalyst, this purpley shimmer in the corner here. The texture is really rough, it's really gritty, and it doesn't blend in nicely. And this is that shade of purple that really does make your dark circles look not very nice at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a picture up of this palette with the numbers next to all of them, and then I'll just do a quick little slideshow of all the looks and how all of them turned out. So those were the 12 looks that I created with this palette. So as you can see, they are all really similar to each other, and they're not really the most flattering shades on me. And I have decided that I am going to be decluttering this palette, and the reasons for that is that because of the tones, the cool tones here in this palette, they're not the most flattering on me. They don't really sort of bring a lot of life and vibrance and sort of glowiness to my face. They kind of drain the colour a little bit. They also emphasise my dark circles quite a bit, and I try my best to conceal them as much as I can, so I don't want to be wearing purpley tones that make them look worse than they are. The looks that you can create from this palette are all very similar, so I don't feel like I need all of these colours. I think maybe just a few purpley tones that I have in other palettes in my collection will suffice. And I just know as well that if I was to put this back in my collection, it's not going to be a palette I'm going to reach for. So I have had this for a few years now. I feel like I've gotten my use out of it, so I think it is time now to declutter this one and move on to another palette. Just a little word on the quality of this palette. The shades are all very easy to blend, but the vibrancy is an issue with this palette. So shades such as number 8 here, this pale lilac shade, doesn't show up on me at all. So the vibrancy of this palette is also pretty poor. Not really the quality that I expect from bareMinerals, so yeah, I will be decluttering this one. Alright, so I have a new palette to be working on for the next month then, and hopefully I will use this one more than 12 times in the next month. And I did kind of allude to this in my recent Shop My Stash video, where I mentioned that I wanted to go bright and vibrant and colourful because it's August and it's summer. So the palette that I'm going to be using and focusing on for the next month is my Revolution We Are Love palette, which is full of really vibrant, bright, summery, colourful shades which just really kind of evoke joy and happiness whenever I look at this palette. So I am sick to death of purpley pinky mauve tones that are very cool, so I'm just really excited to play with this palette. I know there are some purpley pinks in here, but they are more vibrant, more in your face, which I feel would suit me a lot more than the subdued cool tones in the bareMinerals palette. So I don't have any eye makeup on today, so I am going to be putting some colours on from this palette and just doing a sort of sped up application of some of these shades. And I'm thinking I want to go for a bit of a sort of sunset look, so maybe this yellow and then the oranges and reds here. So I think that would be quite fun. Hopefully it's going to match the lip that I've got on. If not, I will change it. But this is the palette that I am going to be focusing on for the next month. In terms of usage, I think I'm going to say 3 uses of each pan. I'm not going to stick to the at least 1. I think I'm going to increase it and say 3 uses of each pan, just to make sure that I'm not leaning on my favourite colours. I'm not going back to sort of the same old colours, and I'm making sure that each pan in here gets a fair amount of love. And again, I will try my best to take lots of pictures and show you guys, and like I say, hopefully there will be more than 12 pictures next time. So I'm going to go and apply an eye look from this palette. I am going to be speeding it up, so I am just going to say here that thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon in my next video, but keep watching to see the look that I make with this palette.